So I kind of always wondered what little Dwayne Johnson would look like as a kid. I kind of pictured you coming out of the womb, six pack, muscles. Like, I don't know what I imagined, but there was something about you as a baby or as a young child that just captured me. What were you like as a little kid?
I was I was a pain in the butt is what I was like as a little kid. I was a pain. I was rambunctious. I was just full of energy. But from what I'm able to gather from my parents over the years is I was a good boy, and I was an only child. So we traveled around a lot following the career of my dad. So I was really never in one place for honestly, Hoda, about a year. Stability wasn't really a cornerstone of my life when I was a little boy, but I think being able to, move from state to state and starting anew and new kids, new friends, new school, is probably why I need therapy today. However, I think, but I think I was a good kid. But for the record, because the world is watching,
Yeah.
I came out of the womb and I slapped the doctor. And I put him
You are
down.
so bad. You are a bad boy. Okay, I'm telling you, I can see right now. It was so cool, and we're going to talk about this show, which I think is a brilliant idea. But even though it's a comedy, I feel like I got to know your family, and I was just imagining you as a little boy idolizing your dad, man, and walking into these rooms filled with your dad and Andre the Giant and these legends in the pro wrestling world. What was that like as a kid?
Oh, you don't know what you know when you're in it. But as often the irony of life is once you're not in it anymore, and as a kid, you grow up and you look back, and it was an extraordinary life that was also very unique. And what I mean by that, I think the world of professional wrestling at that time in the 70s and 80s was, as wrestling was almost booming, you had all these larger than life characters, Andre the Giant, Randy Macho Man Savage, guys like that who I adored as a kid growing up. But I certainly adored my dad. My dad was my hero, and you're a product of your environment. So I would go to these wrestling matches that oftentimes at that time, Hoda, were in very small venues, sometimes high school gyms. But the irony of that is that they were heroes and gladiators for that 2.5 hours, whether it's in front of 5,000 people or 500. In that moment, they were heroes. And I was just always fascinated with the world of pro wrestling. And again, I love my dad. I was an only child, so he raised me with a tough hand. But it was all the underpinning of love was always there.
This show, when they said, hey, Dwayne, hey, how about if we do a sitcom on your life? Were you like, my life? Or were you like, yeah, let's go, my life?
Well, at first blush, you think, wow, that's wonderful for the ego. The whole idea of the show just came, it's so serendipitous actually that it all came together the way it has, because you realize as I get a little older in life and these years go by and I start, sharing my stories, you realize that I've had just this Forrest Gumpian life that has intersected with so many people and so many heroes to the world, but yet at the same time, that delicate balance of being evicted and living paycheck to paycheck and trying to balance that out as a kid and as a teenager, multiple arrests when I was a teenager, trying to stay on the right path. But yet at the same time, I've been very fortunate in terms of being able to pull many lessons that I've learned over the years, and now being able to share that through this, this idea of comedy and through this scope of comedy. It's just phenomenal. I tell you this, Hoda, we went in to pitch this, and you never know with these things, as you know, in the world of entertainment, you're going to pitch an idea, and you're thinking this is going to be amazing, and then nobody buys it. So we went in and we pitched it to NBC, and it was a very surreal moment, and probably about 10 minutes into an hour pitch, that was scheduled for an hour, the president at that time said, stop, we're in.
Oh my gosh.
Let's make
Oh
this.
my gosh. Well, you know what I love about it? It's full of like lots of humor. There's a scene in there where Andre the Giant picks you up as a young kid and like almost by the shirt collar. Did that really happen?
Oh, yes. Now, the thing about Andre, I had a really wonderful relationship with Andre. And again, when you're a little boy, he's just Uncle Andre, who's a giant. And I'd jump on him and pull his afro and run around and try and make him play with me. But here's play with this toy, play with that toy. And he was always very gracious. But Andre in the world of professional wrestling was highly respected. Mm-hmm. And when you walked into a locker room, the first thing you had to do, you had to beeline to Andre and you had to shake his hand. Mm. Usually he was playing cards, and you would have just stand there and wait until he's ready to shake your hand. And this is no way disparaging. He was a beautiful human being. Mm-hmm. That's just the way he was. So as a little boy, it was important for him that I learn respect, not only respect for elders, but also respect for the world of professional wrestling.
I thought it was so just eye-opening to me, and I didn't know all this about your past, but when your mom and your dad hop in the car, fancy car, coming back from a fancy wrestling match, only to roll up to kind of like a kind of a bad Motel 6, and that's where you were living. And your dad made a comment to you in the sitcom, like it's, they don't see us coming home, son. They just see us hopping in the car. Do you remember life being about appearances?
Well, the majority of my life when I was growing up, Hoda, was all about appearances, and that's one of I think that's one of the distinctly unique aspects of pro wrestling back then. Now it's different. It's globally successful, and guys and girls are making millions of dollars. But back then it was much, much different, and there wasn't a one company like the WWE. There were multiple little territories that wrestlers would wrestle in, and when your run was up, say for example in the territory of Florida, well, you pack up and move and you go to Georgia. Mm-hmm. You start all over again. So the idea of appearances was the life. And a term that I always love using is working the gimmick. You got to work the gimmick. And that, again, that's one of the unique aspects about pro wrestling back then, is that it was always so important for the fans to always see the wrestlers as stars. Mm-hmm. So while they may have been living paycheck to paycheck, they always had to have a Lincoln. They always had to have a Cadillac. They always had to have jewelry, cool clothes, arriving to the arena that way in style as a wrestling star, and leaving in style. But then where you went, no one ever knew, and it didn't really matter. But keeping that perception was always important. And one of the lessons that I'd learned, that we showcased in the episode, in the series, is yes, there's value in working the gimmick, but I think once you get a little bit older, you realize you got to let the gimmick work for you. And that is when, one of the overall lessons, which was, I realized some time ago that the most powerful thing I could be is not necessarily working the gimmick, but just being myself.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I found it interesting. Like, your dad didn't want you to go into the business, because he was like, son, look around, look where we live. I want more for you than what I have. But you still went down the path.
Thank you for bringing that up, by the way, because this was one of the anchoring reasons why we had such a complicated relationship. I was dead set on becoming a professional wrestler once I felt like my football career was over and done, and I didn't want to continue it. And I only had one man that I could go to, and that was him, to help me and train me. But we had the biggest fight between a father and a son over this. And essentially, you're right. He said, look around. Look what I have after all these years, and I want more for you. And I said, I know, and I appreciate that, but I feel like I have something to offer. And we fought and fought and fought. And finally, he said, after my mom said, let me talk to you for a second. Okay? Let me talk to you, husband. Let me talk to you about how this whole thing is going to go down. And then he said, okay, I'll train you.
Well, I think when you think about like what your dad was concerned about was not having enough. And I can only imagine, like, for you as a young kid, and even, it shows itself in this show too. Again, funny moments, but poignant moments where your character steals clothes because he wants to impress the girl. It's all about having more, having enough. And when did you finally feel like, you know what? I have it. I have enough. I got here.
I love that you asked that. I don't think I've ever felt that. And I'm not quite too sure, honestly, Hoda, if I ever will. So much of my DNA and my constitution it derives from not having, which then motivates the work. And, when we were living here in Hawaii, by the way, and again, this is also serendipitous serendipitous that I'm talking to you about this show. The majority of it did take place in Hawaii. I'm back here in Hawaii now, and under certainly different circumstances. But we were evicted off the island when I was 14 years old. So that really drove me to want more. So I'm not quite too sure if I've ever said, I got enough, I'm good. I always think I'm just a couple of days away from getting evicted. So we got to go to work, Hoda.
Got to work. You know what I love about you? When you finally started making enough money, before you even had a home of your own that you were proud of, you decided that you wanted to make sure that your folks were okay.
I did. We were moving and moving and moving when I was a kid, and we only lived in apartments, and we lived in efficiencies, and we lived in trailer parks. So when I first started making a little bit of money, when I became a pro wrestler, wrestling for the WWE, my goal was to buy them their first house. And I was able to do that by the grace of God and the universe. And I bought them their first house. And this was in 1999. And then I thought, okay, now I can buy my first house. So by 2000, I moved into my very first house. So it was a nice way to bring in, that year. But yeah, I had to do that. That was one of those things that I couldn't do it any other way. I couldn't buy mine first and then let them continue to live in an apartment. And you know what's funny is by that time, I was already WWE champion. I was very fortunate enough to become the youngest WWE champion. And I was still living in this little apartment. And my neighbors were like, wow, you sure you want to continue to live here? I'm like, I'm just keeping it real, man. Gotta keep it real.
By the way, you're constantly giving it away. I mean, we must do a morning boost on you every now and then. There's always another one on Dwayne The Rock, because you'll give a car to somebody, you give a house to somebody, your sister, your friend from many years ago. Santa, what's it all about?
I love that. It's one of my favorite things. I always feel like that's one of the best parts of fame, I think, for me, when you can give back and because you think about it, when I was young, I didn't have my first car until I was 24 or 25. Well, I did buy my first car from a crackhead, which when I was 15, that doesn't count. But my first legit car when I was 24, 25. So it's like automobiles and homes for me. I know that that's the biggest thing that are stressful for people. So I've done pretty good and very fortunate and lucky over the years. So the best part about it is the surprise.
Yeah. Well, I'm so happy you share them with us. Hey, what does your mom think of the sitcom? Has she seen it?
Hoda, she loves it. She can't get through any of these episodes without crying because it's so searing for her when she watches all these moments that were hard. And she watches, the times where I was arrested, or the times we got evicted, and we're here in Hawaii or in Bethlehem or anywhere across the country. It always did represent some sort of struggle. Like, how are we going to make this happen? How are we going to do this? How are we going to hang on to this apartment? So to watch these struggle moments unfold for her on NBC in this sitcom that is still infused with comedy, that at the end there's a nice lesson that we're sharing, that we went through as a family. I mean, it's so surreal for her. And her biggest thing, Hoda, so when we put this whole thing together, she was like, she couldn't believe it. She goes, okay, I got it. On who should play me, who you should cast. And I said, who? Tell me. I said, but before you say who, I said, Mom, it's got to be authentic. We want to make sure that it's somebody Polynesian descent, hopefully Samoan descent, which we did get. She goes, yeah, absolutely. That's so important. Authenticity is so important. That's why you need J-Lo. Oh. We need J-Lo.
Jenny?
She's like, yeah, absolutely. She could play me. And by the way, she was so serious about that. She's like, you're friends with her. Make it happen. She would love to do something like this. Like, okay, Mom.
I think
if we come back for a season 2, I'm calling Jennifer.
Have your girls seen it?
They have not.
Yeah,
No,
they're little.
no. But they know something's coming.
Yeah.
And they're seeing billboards and these ads and things like that. So, but they know.
You have a lot of funny videos with your kids. One of them I love is when you run in the room. We don't even see you, and you're like, "Who wants to see Daddy's muscles?" And one by one, you're
No one.
And then your wife from the back room, no one.
No one. Oh, it's the best.
So I guess that's how you stay grounded, man, because I feel like you have the world at your feet. And when I saw that moment, I felt like I was at home with my kids. Like that's life right there.
That's life. Life happens, and we live life. And especially when it comes to kids, it is kids, as you know, and as parents all around the world know, they are the great equalizer to everything in life. When you think you have it all handled, they will equalize that. When you think you have the answers, they'll equalize that.
Okay, so top of this sitcom, first thing out of the gate, basically you're doing an interview and you're asked, you're going to run for president. So I looked, I Googled, I said, man, I wonder if The Rock's ever talked about this. And I knew you and Oprah talked about being a team. I looked back, Michael Strahan interviewed you. You kind of, well, door always open. Is this something that's even on the horizon, or is this part of the comedy?
It's something that we thought, well, there's two answers here. I'll give you the A side. The A side was, what is a creative way that we can infuse me into the show and have me infused in the show throughout the show? And then our creator, Nanachka Khan, brilliant woman, she said, well, what if we set it in 2032 and you're actually running for president? I thought, okay, that's interesting. And then I thought, well, I was a little reticent because I thought, well, do we want to toy with politics here during this time? And she said, I think we should. It's fun, but also, she says it's up to you. So then I went back home, and of course I talked to Lauren, and Lauren said, oh, I think it's a great idea. You should do it and, have fun with it. And she goes, not only that, and Lauren had said this, she goes, go have a drink of your tequila. And she said, because there's a few people who may actually want you to run for president.
Oh, yeah.
So think about that.
Probably more than a few.
We went for it.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Find your favorite recipes, celebrity interviews, uplifting stories, shop our favorite deals, and so much more with the Today app. Download it now.